you guys can hear me, I'm on my way, just posting a link here and turning up my volume. Input MacBook Pro mic, that seems low. I'm going to take it up to here. Wonder about here. Hello? Is that too loud? Just don't mind giving me a sound check, that'd be great. I'm going to see if this is okay. Hopefully it's not too loud. Let me know if it is too loud though. Maybe that's too loud. I'm going to look and see. Starting the show any second. Just sending a link. Hello, good morning, patrons. Thank you for helping me do this. Yeah, good morning. Good Monday morning. Yeah, good morning Monday. Hi there, patrons. Join me live. That's right. All right, that is posted. Quick share. All right, here we go. Oops, I didn't mean to close that. Gotta open that back up. Confess my crimes against the corporate culture today in front of the witnesses that are my live stream. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Loud and clear. Yes, I can hear you. Good. Sounds good here. Great. Great. Fantastic. Great. That is great. I am going live now. Prepare yourselves. I'm about to go live. I am live now. Good morning to you. It is cold here. It's cold. I love it. It is cold though. And yesterday was warm. And that's called a difference. And there is an energy in difference. The energy is either going to evoke a feeling of gratitude or a feeling of remorse for that change. And that gratitude or that remorse is an electrical source of energy. And if you're tapping into that source of energy, if you found a way to tap into that in some way, you unlock free energy in the world. This is what Buddha was all about. He was like, it's raining. It's dry. It's cold. It's hot. It's tepid. It's a constant intake, like an air-cooled engine. Buddha is the air-cooled engine. He will function as long as there is a difference coming into his bay, into his engine bay. If you don't know what an air-cooled engine is, it's good for you. It's good. That's good. My first home was an air-cooled engine, and when I drove it to the city of Kansas City, I discovered really quick why air-cooled engines don't do well in the city. Yeah. All right. This is episode 51. And yeah, that's what this episode is. This is sort of a potpourri. That's why I haven't said about the blah blah blah. It's kind of a bunch of different things. And I wanted to start with a struggle. I've been reading some comments from people telling me, "Oh, James, you're so stupid. You got so much to work on. You're so ignorant. You're so unenlightened. Or man, if you could just catch up and figure out what's going on, it would mean so much. And or you really need to work on your entire definition, because you're wrong, James. You're wrong. And if you keep this up, you're going to end up like Hitler, or you're going to end up like Bill Gates. That was the latest one. A guy's telling me that I'm wrong because I do not understand the threat of Bill Gates. And my reply is a profound question back, which is, at what point in time did I ever grant Bill Gates the authority over anything that I'm doing or not doing? I simply cannot think of that time. And if I'm missing something, it would be my leash. It would be a leash that's linking me to Bill Gates. And why is missing that leash a bad thing? What part about it is so bad? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It almost doesn't make enough sense to me to where I lose the second point of what I'm trying to say. You guys that want me to work on things, that want to point out my personal flaws, I welcome that. But I need you to understand something. Things that I need to work on are that's good. All of us having things that we need to work on is a natural cycle of life. Each of us have the ability to improve or disprove. And if we're going to pretend that someone has to have all of their ducks in a row or their quackers in a quadrant before they're allowed to speak in public, none of us are going to get anywhere. Actually, we're going to get somewhere, but it's only going to be led by the 10% of the people that will not do what you've said. That will not make sure that all their ducks are in a row before they speak. They will instead just blindly speak. I've made it as clear as I possibly can that this is an unlearning class on philosophy. And philosophy is the love of wisdom. And to have a love of wisdom, you have to have an affair with it every day. You have to meet it under the stairs. You have to run your hand up its thighs. You have to climb on the roof of a Mexican restaurant behind the solar panels and make sex with it underneath the moonlight. You have to have these rendezvous with it in the woods, in an abandoned park, out in the forest when you're walking along the Appalachian Trail. You have to have these seductive encounters with wisdom all the time. Otherwise, you don't love wisdom. You simply like to keep wisdom around. You like to have it like a painting you might buy from IKEA. That's not really a painting, it's like a print of a painting. And because it already comes in a frame, it's actually, there's no calories involved. It's simply buying that painting and putting it up. Now, once you have that painting, there's nothing wrong with that because the prana in your room will slowly charge that painting and make it something that's worthwhile to you. No different than buying a teddy bear. But this idea that we're supposed to have everything figured out before we figure stuff out is about the most asinine thing I've ever heard. So if you're going to tell me that I need to work on myself, I think you would find that it would be a lot more constructive if you present it almost like you're giving me flowers. Like, hey man, I brought you these flowers. Have you considered that the polarity system in place when you say blah 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 is incongruent with the natural vector of the tangent of how you feel in reference to this thing? Let's go that way with it. Let's find ways where we're constructively helping each other. Because otherwise, I can't have empathy for you. I can't empathize with your position because I see someone that finds it painful to have flaws. I see someone that's pointing out flaws in others as if that's a bad thing, as if that's a somehow gonna give you more power. This Wetiko, that's what this is. The system of Wetiko, which is where we must all drain each other. And the people that drain the others the most is the person who wins. This will never ever work. This will never be a profitable, resonant economy. It will never work that way. I think this is part of why some of us gravitate towards competition sports and others gravitate towards grace sports. There's a big difference in them. Snowboarding is mostly, there's exceptions here, but snowboarding and skiing are mostly like grace sports. They're about how you feel, what your form is like. you're not really competing with someone else. You are more trying to reach a flow state. It is a congruence with you and nature. Running, unless you're like in a race, actually depends on the runner. It's like 50-50. But running is very much like a grace state. You were found a way to ride your pelvis like a carriage. And as you're riding on top of your pelvis, you've reached this state of levitation. Your momentum has become your new gravity. And the pull of the trail is what's keeping you erect, not the pull of the earth wanting you down. It's a different kind of economy. A victory economy is going to have a loser, and that loser is going to take their prana chips and hand them over to someone else. Tennis is a perfect example of that. Tennis can get kind of brutal and cutthroat because both sides want those chips more than the other. In fact, who really wins this argument is about not really who's the better player. It really comes down to who's willing to burn more chips. Who's willing to leave all their calories? Who's willing to do whatever it takes? And as you smell your opponent, what you're really doing is you're smelling their sacrificial factory that's inside of their blood. It's coming out in their breath and their sweat, and you're smelling this Aztec adrenaline that's surging inside them, where they have believed there can be only one. We must sacrifice. Each of their blood cells are pulling the heart out of the other blood cell and using that as a fuel to defeat you. It's a completely different way of living in life. And I'm not here to say one is better than the other. I'm really not. There's an importance and a time for the competitive spirit, of course. Victory is quite a drug, and there's if we're going to drink beer, if we're going to smoke grass, if we're going to drink coffee, if we're going to stimulate ourselves in any way, it would be wrong for me to suggest that victory would not be one of those stimulations. It certainly can be. However, it is a different framework. And if we are dealing with humanity, if we are dealing with helping each other, this victory mindset is really just kind of an asinine way of approaching it. It's almost as if it's not genuine. It's almost as if the person who's telling me that I need to work on myself actually doesn't really want me to work on myself at all. Instead, what they want is to feel like they do not need to be worked on, which is really getting us further and further away from our original dream, from our original perspective. I'm going to turn on the hummingbird feeder cam now, even though there's not a hummingbird there, but it's only because I need to plug in the laptop. I think for some reason the stream seems to work better, the mic seems to work better if it's plugged in. Forgive me. So, with that said, I would like to show you something. That looks to be it. Okay, and then LinkedIn. And then I like this guy. I hate that I've had to say this about my LinkedIn account. Where is it? Where is it? Man, I never go here, and so I'm coming. Dang, I can never find my posts. No idea how this site works. It's awful. There we go. Here we go. Okay. So, some of you may know that I am a reject of corporate culture. I worked for a long time in the corporate world as an augmented reality programmer. But basically, it's just like a game engine programmer. You would program a game engine, but you would turn it into augmented reality, which isn't really as complicated as it might seem. If it is to seem complicated to any of you, it's actually really not. It's kind of just a new little buzzword that people are using. And as corporate culture does, corporate culture feeds on fads. It doesn't feed on truth as much as it feeds on fads. It's very much like your mind. It's feeding off the news. It's living off the zeitgeist. In fact, if you were to think about it, the zeitgeist, our groupthink, is a corporation. It's a living corporation of humanity that is representing all of us. All of our belief in Babylon is put into this central Leviathan. This, oh, I am the creature. Oh, I will consume media. COVID is real. It's that kind of thing. It's this Frankenstein that we erect to go out and feed on news, feed on information, right? Well, that's what humans do. But corporations, they do that like times a billion. Keep in mind that it's the zeitgeist creating its own zeitgeist. It's freaking intense, my friends. It is intense how twisted this gets. And you notice right away when you're in corporate culture that there is a abandonment that's required of you when you enter the machine. Now, I was lucky enough to be in the Navy. I'm sorry, I really want to drink this. I never drink coffee while I'm doing this, and then the flavor just goes away in 10 minutes because it's so cold. Man, I love coffee. The zeitgeist, the collective consciousness of you that you go into the office is now living inside this building. And it's only living in that building when you're inside the cubicle, when you're inside the zone, when you're inside this space, right? This space of obedience and delegation. What do I mean by that? Your obedience comes in the realm of your clothing, right? You have, wait for this plane. Your fifth electrical field is your casual field. It's going to be what you wear, your fashion statement. You are broadcasting a sense of authority because you're wearing a white lab coat, or you've got a stethoscope on, or you've got a tie, or you've got a name tag, or when you go to a corporate event, you've got a badge, man. You've got a VIP badge. Or when you work in the secret sector of your company, like the server room a lot of times, you get a hall pass, a physical badge that you put up to a door and the scanner lets you in. Most people don't understand that the scanner is not letting the human in. The scanner is letting the laminated piece of card in. It is the credential that has the authority, not the human. It is the credential. And this is so important if you really want to understand the truth as far as like how this world's working. When you delegate your authority to the person who gave you the cubicle, you are disassociating from your body. You are taking the fifth electrical field, the casual egoic field. If you can't see this, there are 7 electrical fields around the body. The first is elemental, second is sexual, third is emotional, fourth is egoic, fifth is casual. You are taking that fifth casual field and you are giving it over to a new authority. And because it's your fifth, that means your sixth field, your task field, is also controlled, right? Task field is, hey, I'm going to need those TPS reports before lunch. That's your task field. Your casual field is also infected because you were wearing a prescribed dress that you would not normally wear. And your next field, your casual field, is also been invaded by this force. Now this is by choice, but still, it's been invaded. And you'll notice that as the corporation penetrates your fields, right? As it does that, it takes more and more control over each one. Your ancestor field, your family field, you are not with your family. That work is all about you leave your family. If there's anything work in a corporation does, it takes you away from your family. It migrates you. Second is your task field, what it is you're doing during the day. This isn't as strong as taking away your task field. It's taking away your ancestor, your family field. What do I mean by that? Because while you're at work, you can still text your wife. While you're at work, you can still fuck off on Facebook. It doesn't fully control you. All right? Next is your casual field. Okay? So your task field, you're doing TPS reports. Next is your casual field. You are going to behave in a certain way to fit the corporate culture. You're going to not only shave, but you're going to hold your posture in a certain way. You're not going to put your feet on the table. You're not going to cut your toenails. You're not going to store your socks in the upper desk drawer of your cubicle and forget and like rotate them out every 4 days and then have your boss get mad at you. Just hypothetically, if that was to happen to anyone, you are invaded in your casual field, and all that gets down to your egoic field and how you feel about yourself. And through promotion, you find that your egoic field can raise, and through demotion, you find your egoic field can suffer. And that, of course, affects your emotional field. You're going to take that home. It's going to affect your sexual field. It's going to affect your elemental field eventually, because you're going to die. You'll die early. You're all going to die, but you're going to die in a corporate box. Now, I am not saying that all corporations are wrong. Business is important. In fact, I am one of the few people that, when I say few, I mean I don't catch a lot of other people doing this. I believe that currency is a public trust. If we didn't have currency, if we did not have some form of exchanging public trust with each other, we wouldn't have society. So I do not think that money is inherently bad. I do not think hammers are inherently bad. I do not think guns are inherently bad. I think money is the same way. I do think it's bad that we have a centralized petrodollar. That's definitely bad. But I'm not going to say that because someone made an AR-15, I shouldn't have a long rifle. It makes no sense to me. It's incongruent. It doesn't make any sense to anybody. This corporate beast, this Leviathan, is living off of those fields. The energy that you have, your belief system, you believe in the company now. It is a god to you. I'm sorry, it is. Plasma is a belief system. I'm no longer taking excuses. None of you are bringing me hall passes anymore, saying, well, it doesn't count. All this belief that I put in Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 doesn't count, James, because it counts. It counts. And anyone loses their wrench who says, well, prana is infinite. There's always enough prana to go around. There's not. You make prana. You extrude it like sausage. It comes out of you. It is the evaporation of your will sent and blown into a certain perspective. You send your prana to someone. You do not get to say, well, even though what's a gross example? Even though I'm drinking all the time, it's only between 9 and 5, so it doesn't really count. Even though stop. Every moment of your life is going. That prana is going somewhere. Every moment. Your time is a sacrifice, my friends. It's the most important sacrifice, and it's the sacrifice they've told you is worth squat. How they do that? They took out a price gun and they smacked you with a number. Went $7 an hour. There. You just went from being priceless to being worth $7 an hour. And that is a religious conviction. To take that on, you have made a religious commitment to a corporation, not to money, to a corporation. What do you mean not to money, James? Because you can go and trade eggs. You can trade coffee beans. You can trade rocks. You can trade silver. I am trading my book for silver right now to people. You do not have to participate in this system. But if you're going to participate, stop whining to me about how it's not fair. It's exactly fair. Do you know how I know? Because it's using the 1, 2, 3, 4, it's using almost half of your chakras. Oh no, he said chakras. It's using half of your electrical field to pay for it. You are paying for it. Sorry, I don't mean you. You guys are pretty awesome. People are paying for it. They're paying for it dearly. And when they pay for it dearly, How do you think it feels if you're paying for something dearly to watch someone else not paying for it at all? How does that feel? If you can't see, there's a hummingbird, so I've been quiet. How does that feel? To watch others not pay for something that you're paying for dearly, that you're paying for 9 to 5. You're going to feel cheated, aren't you? And you're going to feel that people who are not paying that need to work on themselves. They need to up their credentials. They need to reevaluate their direction in life. And it's not just the corporations, is it? It's all of society. It's women who've been evacuated that trade up for better men. Men who are evacuated that trade up for better women. It's people trading each other for a sense of I need less work. They want the ability for people to think, oh, he doesn't need as much work as I do. He's not as broken as I am. And all of this is fueled by this. It's all fueled by you and me. It's fueled by all of us. And I haven't been to LinkedIn in forever. I used to be in corporate culture. I used to be a programmer. And the people I worked with are nice people, by the way. Like really, really great people. But I went on there because, I got a new book and I'm like, hey, I should tell people about my book. And so I go on there to do it and I'm just slaughtered by stay safe. We need to take this COVID thing in stride and we need to stay safe and we need to find a way to work together because we can do this together. But only together alone can we conquer this in a together aloneness state. And all of you need to show me how alone you are because we're all in this together. And people that I have respect for are posting photos of people in masks like it's an artistic statement, saying this shows how together we are. People are posting each other corporate pep talks about how to wear a mask in a cubicle and not offend Glenda. It's actually not to offend. It's how to wear a mask in a cubicle. How to use your phone. It makes me so mad, people. I shouldn't be mad, but it makes me mad because our entire culture is surrounded by that. And all last week, I've been really kicking myself because I keep burning bridges. We all burn bridges, and I don't have to tell you guys this. When burning bridges is expensive, it should be. And sometimes I burn bridges that I should not burn, or I wonder if I should not burn. Not even because they're expensive, more because I'm like, why did I burn that bridge? And a lot of times I'm following my gut, and a lot of times my gut is leading me wrong. I say that because my gut is also responding to my neocortex. My neocortex will always come back in and punish my gut later. And my gut's usually confused by my neocortex because a lot of times it doesn't actually know what it's being punished for. You hear this self-talk in yourself when you say, I'm an idiot. And then sometimes you catch yourself, wait, I'm not an idiot. Blah, 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 blah. And then you try and explain it. Your gut doesn't have the patience to listen to that kind of back and forth. It's going to hear that first, I'm an idiot, because that is, you never tried to kick yourself? Like you think of something you did bad and you're like, oh, I can't believe I said that. You feel that jolt? That's the electrical field, isn't it? It's the electrical field trying to pop out. It's trying to pop out. It's trying to get out tension through all these layers to get it all the way out. It's no different than when you see a duck that lands too close to another duck. The second duck will feel threatened, but he's not going to whip out a gun. He's not going to whip out a knife and cut the duck. He's just going to flap his wings. And it's the same kind of thing. You're releasing that tension. You're finding that tension inside you and you're releasing it. And this is the same thing I talk about fear. This could be tricky to follow what I mean by this, but here it goes. The same thing I talk about fear. The moment that you feel fear, you have the opportunity to accept this as a good thing or a bad thing. And if you let that adrenaline flowing through you scare you, if you let it panic you, if you feel like this adrenaline is foreign to me, you will lose the battle of fear. It will be amalgamated into retreat. It will be amalgamated into I reject this energy. It will transform before your very eyes. And the same thing happens when you jolt yourself. When you, I can't believe I said that. The moment you say that, you need to stop everything, what you're doing, and thank yourself that you were able to emit that eruption from deep. That was a volcanic eruption of energy inside your lower layer. And when that comes out, I don't want you to feel bad for that. I want you to be thankful for that. I want you to feel, thank you for letting that out. Thank you, Mr. Duck. Think of that duck flapping its wings. Oh, you freak me out, but I'm okay now. I'm okay now. You freak me out, but I'm okay now. It's that kind of thing. And as you heal, as your energy has to erupt and open and it spits out, as it comes back together, spend some time with yourself and go, yeah, man, let's recombobulate. And let's recombobulate this system in such a fine way that we are ready even more for the next time a duck lands too close to us. For the next time, indeed. But it was too late. I pulled the trigger. It was 11 hours ago. That would make it midnight. I should not post things at midnight. Watching how many people comply with the COVID hoax makes me proud to realize I flunked out of corporate culture. This is a letter to all my former clients. I've never seen so much blind allegiance in my life. If this offends you, good. You're in charge of the world right now, and you're showing everyone you'll spew corporate propaganda every day before taking 3 minutes to look up the term exosome. Thank God I failed the corporate world. This place is a vomitorium of regurgitation. And I'm surprised that I got 1 like on that. I'm actually surprised by that. And that is burning a bridge. That is not nice. That is sealing any kind of gate between me and anyone in the corporate world who might find that offensive. It's also constructive in other ways. Anyone that has respect for me, anyone that's ever had respect for me, going, James always had this je ne sais quoi to him. I found it very interesting the way he would react and counter certain situations, and here he is telling me I'm bad for being corporate vomit. I will think about this. There definitely some of that will happen. Definitely some of that will happen. But friends, we need to stop talking about COVID. Let me clarify what I mean by that. This has nothing to do with COVID, and you all know that. All of us know that. This is how you reset a petrodollar built on lies and violence. Our system's been collapsing a long time, hasn't it? Were we just going to let it collapse? Or was someone going to control burn it? Was someone going to take the bull out back, the market, and slit its throat like Mithras? Someone with orange face. Someone like they would do in Rome. Would someone want that job? Yeah. Someone would want to embody the spirit of Caesar and perform that ritual. They might look at it like a wrestling match on a stage. They might look at it like a turnbuckle. A bounce back from a turnbuckle with a clothesline and a knee furl. Knee right to the back, clothesline in. Doesn't even need a chair. Doesn't even need a chair to take down Goliath. One, every CEO profited from the myth of COVID. Everyone. Massive parting bonuses. In fact, most of them that left stayed on board for exactly 1 year, i.e. Disney. Every CEO made a profit from pushing COVID. Every one of them. Number 2, only the big box stores were allowed to stay open. They were considered essential. All of your business had to now go through one of 5 corporations. Number 3, Amazon made out more than anyone in this. The person who profited the most from COVID is Amazon. They are now insurpassable. There is no one that compete with their shipping distribution. There is no one that compete with their profits. There's no one that could ever say they are no longer essential. Should this ever come up again, if anyone will stay open, it will be Amazon. None of these things have anything to do with COVID. And LinkedIn, the corporate world, has failed us all. They've delegated themselves. I'm talking about the people in that system. Kind of like how the nurses and the doctors failed us. Kind of like how the lawyers who weren't coming out to speak about liberty failed us. Kind of like how the government failed us. Kind of like how the National Guard and the military, after all this time, still cannot question their own system, their own uniforms, and say, why are we invading a new country every 15 months? We have too much respect for regurgitators in this world. We call regurgitators winners. We give regurgitators the biggest profit. We call them the most important. They're the ones with the biggest salaries. They're the winners in life right now. Regurgitators. They regurgitate COVID. They regurgitate anything. To regurgitate is to delegate. And to delegate is to abandon. When you delegate your authority to someone else, you abandon yourself. You abandon your sovereignty. When you regurgitate, you abandon your wisdom. You're no longer slipping her the tongue behind the gym. She's not that important to you anymore. You've delegated her spring formal dance to Ted from chemistry class. You've decided that Ted can take her to that dance, and that will work for you and her and him. You've abandoned it. And you don't have a choice. If you're going to be in corporate culture, you're going to abandon yourself. And if you're going to wear a uniform, you are going to abandon yourself. You can't say, no, I won't do it. No, yeah, you will. You will, because it's literally your electrical field. It's your electrical field. You will abandon it. The system will show you how. And the system will punish you for not doing it. It will be impossible for you to raise up in rank. Just like when I was in the Navy, I went in as an E3. Actually, I was promoted as E3 in boot camp. I went in as E3, then I stayed E3 the entire 6 years. I never advanced. Is it because I'm an idiot? I get most of you like, yeah, not most of you. Anyway, yes, you could make that argument. You could try that argument. But we all know it's because of the delegation. We all know I lack the ability to delegate and abandon myself into that role. And I was so bad at it that all the punishment that I took financially wasn't enough to keep me on board. It took more than that. And that kind of spirit that I have is in you. It's in all of us. I don't think you'd be listening to this cast if you didn't have that spirit. That spirit is what resonates between us, between you and me. That spirit that we will not abandon is why we have this tribe, this fire, this whatever you want to call it. This sense of urgency for the self is the complete antithesis of corporate culture. What is a CEO? Is a CEO someone that dictates the mandates and archetypes that everyone else will adopt? Or is the CEO a harlot for the archetypes broadcast up from the base of the tower? What is the president? Is he someone that can send his signals down and everyone will follow? Or is he a reflection of the archetype that's down below? Did Trump tell you that we should build a wall? Or did we tell Trump we should build a wall? That's a big one. And most people will say it was Trump. It was Trump. It's always the leader telling us. And it's never the case. The reason why it's never the case is because if you're going to be a leader, you're going to be the best follower that's ever existed. It's true. You're following harder than anyone else. That's what Trump does. He's a hard follower. He's following more than you are. Everyone's suspicious of Hillary. What does Trump do? He comes out and is so suspicious he wants to lock her up. Everyone's concerned about migration. What does Trump do? He's so concerned he wants to build a wall. Do you really think that Trump himself, from the moment he's born, is like, oh man, if I could just build a wall on the Mexican border, if I could just do that, America would be great? No. No. That's not how it works. The only way it works is with QAnon and Mossad. The only way it works is with narrative after narrative after narrative. No, this is not just about QAnon. I'm talking about every single narrative that exists in Hollywood. I mean, DC. I say them like they're different words. The military industrial entertainment complex. This is all about what kind of infrastructure can we make where we will find out which of us is willing to follow more than anyone else. Which of us is willing to evacuate themselves more than anyone else. That will be our CEO. That will be our senator. That will be our Lance Armstrong. That will be our insert Hollywood movie star. I don't even want to name him. It would be our archon or archetype. Archetype-ton. Archondotype. It would be our archonotype. That's probably a better word for it. To regurgitate is to delegate is to abandon. To regurgitate is to delegate is to abandon. And it happens in religion too. We spoke about manna yesterday. And I want to remind everybody that 10%, only 10% of the population was literate when they convinced the other 90%, hey, the scripture, that's the word, man. That's your authority. I need all of you to give me your ancestor field, and we're going to put it in Scripture. And I know that 90% of you cannot read, but you can trust me. You can trust what's written. Sure. It was spoken in Aramaic, and it was translated into Greek, and it was translated into Latin. Sure. And then each time it went into its language, it became harder, and the classes became smaller who read it. Sure. 14 books were removed. Sure. You didn't have a say-so in that. Yes. We met in Nicaea, 325 with Constantine, and we blended it with Rome. Sure, we did that. And then 200 years later, we met at the Council at Trent. We spent 17 years deciding how does a God work in the world but still keep the world dirty? How can we keep you guys dirty but still have God in it? We're going to need this injection of God. We're going to need God to be outside the world. He's going to need to inject himself into the world. We're going to need a scaffolding for this. We're going to need a Trinity. We're going to need a holy son. We're going to need we need to demote all of you guys 2 ranks. And we can take care of this, okay? Number 1, you're not God's people anymore. You're sort of his like bastard child. Number 2, you're not as great as saints. So we're going to have like a council of 12 saints, like a senate, a sainted, and then above that we're going to have a trinity. But then there you guys are. Because you can't read. Right? I mean, you have to get down there. You have to get down that cubicle because you can't read. But the 10% of us, we know what's going on, man. We know what's happening. Did those 10%, did they have full control over what they said? No. No, they were just like Trump. They were trying to lead. How can I lead? By following. How can I follow harder than everyone else? What is everyone looking for? What are they looking for that I'm willing to give them? Well, they're looking for revolution. They want to come in and turn over the bankers and no. What can we give them that will feed that but not actually be that? Well, I wrote Romans 13. Well, let's see it. Dang, this is pretty good. Yep. Thou shalt take thy orifice and insert Roman law into it and shalt smile. We have these tangible surgeries. They're not even secrets, my friends. The Council of Trent spent 17 years on this thing, and that's not even done, guys. That's after Aramaic, Greek, Latin, and English. You got your Vulgate Bible, you've got your Tyndale Bible, and then you start to get into English. And I already told you about demonology. I already told you about the quest to destroy all plant medicine, all soothing phrases. All placebo was ruled demonic. And then we go in and we have the King James Version in 1611. And then the English Revised Version in the 1800s, right? And then the American Standard Version in 1901. And then the Revised Standard Version in 1952. And then what's this last one? English Standard Version in 2001. And the whole time we're insisting, this is the word. It's the exact same mantra as safe and effective. Even though things change, it's still safe and effective. No, I'm not telling you not to look at the Bible. I'm trying to get you to see the difference between Lord and God. I think we choose our Lord, my friends. I think we choose our leader. I think we choose our Trump. I think we choose our Obama. And I think we choose our Lord. And that's a heavy responsibility. It's such a heavy responsibility that it shows us how much further we have to go. Because whoever claims to have the word of the Lord can basically sexually molest children for like 100 years and none of us will say anything. Or they can genital mutilate our boys and no one's going to say anything. Or they can infiltrate our government through Zionism and literally attack the entire world as if it's a giant germ theory playing out in a fantasy that all this is dirty. And we can destroy what all's dirty if we send in a new corporate message. It's a corporate message. It's just such an old corporation that you will never understand. You cannot call it a corporation because it's so old. Religion, government, these are corporations. Corpse. They're based on the death of you. They're based on your evacuation. And I used to go to these corporate functions. I was paid to... We went to Spain one year. And in Spain, we had to create a booth, a trade booth, a big trade booth. The company I worked for spent $16 million on a 3-day weekend so that they can install words in their employees' heads. And it's called Dell World, or it's actually usually a better name. It's like Dell Transition or whatever. And they will spend, I've seen these budgets, they will spend about $65,000 on a banner that has a key word on it. Just one word. That word will change every quarter. And that word, guys, it will take years for them to write that word. Not years, it will take a year. There are people in marketing and human resources and vice presidencies that do jack shit. Their entire job is to spend months coming up with what is the next word that we want to inject in everyone's head. And how do we inject it in the head? We have to get everyone to leave. We have to get everyone to go to Vegas or to Barcelona or to Toronto or to Quebec or wherever these things are. Or Atlanta. I've done them all. Not all, but they're spending millions and millions of dollars sending you to a place so they can inject scripture into your head. And when I would watch these events, I couldn't believe how much money was spent on that. Like, they would hire Duran Duran or Britney Spears or whoever else to entertain these people in between the injections of a single solitary word. These are corporate jargon. And the corporate jargon is supposed to be disseminated like not a vestment, like a communion. It's supposed to be sent like little wafers, and everyone's supposed to bow down with their badge and take the wafer and drink the wine and go forth and spread the good news. And the whole time I'm thinking, corporations are supposed to be like evil in the sense that they're always trying to save money. But they spend this is when they have like gravy fountains, but they're not gravy. This is like the raw cheese fountains, right? The chocolate fountains. This is decadence in a sacrificial way. This isn't let's cut corners with our money. This is, oh wait, we can print a hologram on this secret poster if we spend an extra $45,000. Let's do that. And everyone passes it down as everyone passes it up. And people are promoted for finding ways to spend more money. It's not the other way around. No one like me would ever be allowed into the correct room to say, what if we took the $16 million and like divided it up between our 1,000 employees and like sent them that check for $16,000 and then with a note that says, you can get this $16,000, but I need you to write this sentence 1,000 times and mail it back into Marcia at Human Resources. Because we need this mantra installed in your head. And we're willing to pay this much for it. And all those people could take that money and become less dependent on the corporate system, but they don't. Instead, it's spent on Vegas. And then these people fly out to Vegas. And then Glenda has a little too much to drink before the Duran Duran concert. And she hits on Ted, and a little something starts. And this whole migration out of the home into this corporate world becomes more and more cemented, becomes more and more fermented. These grapes are turned. They become wine. They become a different world. That's the world of corpse. The world of corporation. And this is a religion just like any other. It's a religion that relies on what? Regurgitation. The irony that I had to regurgitate that. Regurgitation, delegation, and abandonment. That's what's required to enter the corporate sphere. And if you do that, you win. Why? Because you're going to be a better follower than anyone else. You're going to out-follow everyone. That's a good point about the Ouija board, Don. I'm not going to read it because I want to stay on here, but that's a good point. So literacy itself. Think back to the Bible. 10% of the people were literate. And they were installing a religion in 100% of the people from 10% of the people that were literate. And keep in mind that if you were literate, that does not mean that you could actually read one of these Bibles. It doesn't mean you even have access to one. It means you know how to write, Caesar is a cock. Like that's your point of literacy probably. But it shows you how language itself becomes crucial to install these viruses. Language itself is a breach, whether you want to admit it or not. And keep in mind, I'm a linguist. I'm a writer. I'm a linguist. I talk for a living. I believe in... I understand language, but I also understand how deadly it is. I see the sharpness of the sword, right? I understand it. I regret that so many kids play with it so loosely. Because language requires an injection. Language is a wormhole. Language is a wormhole that dives right into these 7 systems. These 7 electrical fields surrounding your body: ancestor, task, casual, egoic, emotional, sexual, elemental. Language penetrates all of those, maybe not elemental. And through words alone, one can install, change, corrupt, steal, or renegotiate an electrical field through words alone. And this is the meaning of corpus. This is the meaning of corporation. And this is why those corporations will spend $16 million to get you to say the word evolve. Yeah, evolve. 2020 is about evolving. And then when you go ask these people in all their different cubicles, they're considered good if in all their mailings and all the people they contact with their life, they're going to use the word evolve. And if they use that word evolve, they will get pat on the back for that. That's actually what they're looking. Are you reflecting corporate culture? Well, James used evolved 117 times in his TPS report. It's pretty brilliant. Yes, I agree. I saw it. I could not believe how many times he used the word evolve. It was pretty evolutionary. Yep. That guy knows how to do it. So look at the energy. Please look at the energy. You walk into Las Vegas. You go into your corporate booth. The booth I made, one of the biggest ones I made was the whole thing looked like an airplane. And we had stewardesses. We had hired spokesmodels that were dressed up like stewardesses that were walking up and down the plane aisles. And people would sit down. Clients of the company that put this on would sit down in the plane. And they would pretend to fly a plane. And the plane would be this augmented reality thing. And it would show you, this plane taking off. Evolve! In the culture of evolution, there is strategy, maintenance. And these words would slowly come out. Maintenance. Maintenance. And then evolve. And for 17 minutes, my job was to keep someone in their seat and install this word evolve in such a creative augmented reality way where they would go home and be like, my God, honey, evolve. Oh, evolve. Like whatever it took to get them to sexually charge that. I say sexually because it's if you look at your roots, how do you sell? You sell with this sex. You reach as deep down into their field as you can, and you grab those heartstrings and you say, "Can you feel what the rock is cooking when I show the word evolve?" And you're like, "Oh my God, I can totally feel what the rock is cooking." And it's installed. You've got it. And what happens? James did a good job. We're going to send James to Spain next year because he you get it. And it's weird. It's not even weird. I don't even work for that company. I don't even work for EMC. I'm the outsider that's been asked to come in and create sorcery to install a word for someone else. Because that guy can't just write a check for $1,600 and mail it to the guy, or $16,000 and go, "Hey man, You should write 1,000 sentences. Say, we will evolve, 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 we will evolve. And mail that into human resources. It would be just as effective, if not more. But that's not how it works. Why? Because corporation isn't about business, is it, my friends? Is it? Is it? It's about belief. All of this is about belief. It's almost as if there was a technology to belief. It was almost as if I wrote a book about it. It's almost as if I took prana and created it as a liquid form of currency, just so I could show people how prana runs the world, how belief runs the world, not money. It's not. Money doesn't run the world, guys. Elite don't need money. Why would they need pretend money? Money can't even survive a fire. Like what we call money, it can't even survive inside a fire. They don't want that. They want real stuff. They want prana. Prana's real. They want status. They'll do anything they can. And that, my friends, is why Elon Musk named his daughter AE156SV or whatever. Do you see that? He named his daughter a ligature. He actually has a ligature and a dash and a number in his daughter's name. This is not a joke. It's not a joke. I'm not pulling up a story on it. Sorry. You should be pruning my lips anyway. I'm not going to pull up a story on it because he's such a whore. Why would we give him that? I almost didn't even want to talk about it. But he named his daughter a ligature. And that shows you it was the AE ligature, AE combined. He named her that. AE 15 or whatever. X is an X in there. I think it starts with an X. And what is that? But I am willing to lead. I'm willing to follow harder than all of you. What is Musk but a techno, right? He's a technomancer. Someone who's claimed, oh, my stock's overvalued, and oh, SpaceLink's gonna be so great, and oh, I'm such a renegade, I smoke pot with Joe Rogan, and I'm lying to you about space, but because it's such a big lie, I can tell you that I'm lying. I'm not lying, and now I'm naming my daughter a ligature, How can you compete with that as someone who's not evacuated and not abandoned? You cannot compete with that. Because none of you would ever abandon your daughter enough to name her after a fucking ligature. Do you know how hard that's going to be named a ligature? No, it's not AE, Mrs. Robinson. It's a ligature. So you need to get it right or I'll call my dad. That's how abandoned you are. You have all the money in the world and you're still willing to sell your child's name for prana. You're still willing to do that. You are willing to sacrifice Isaac in the middle of the day for your Lord. And that's what the apocalypse is about. It truly is. It's realizing that we pick our own Lord. And we choose to serve that Lord. And that Lord is going to take that and use it to test you. To test all of you. He's going to test you with needles. He's going to test you with technology. He's going to start with regurgitation. He's going to say, I'll give you a Duran Duran concert if you say evolve in all your TPS reports. And you're like, that doesn't sound so bad. I'll do that. He'll start with that. Next thing you know, there's like 78 vaccines. Next thing you know, your kids are being taught that having a penis makes you evil. Next thing you know, all of world history has been erased and replaced by fairy tales. Next thing you know, you're rejecting zetetic evidence about the shape of the world around you in order to conform and be invited back to Vegas next year. And you lose to the Lord. you lose. Because he's in the game of victory and you're in the game of grace. And here's the profound part. You picked him. You picked that Lord. We all did. And this is why I've been ramming it through your heads. There's a difference between God and Lord. And I'm guessing that all the flack I get is about that. It's about, how dare you suggest those two things are different? How dare you suggest that a mom would bring her child into a dojo to take karate and not teach him herself? How dare you suggest that she would actually allow me to choose which class and which dojo I wanted to go to, and that I could go in and meet my own sensei, and that sensei would be dedicated to not giving a flying fuck how I felt about him. He was only there to focus on my grace and form. And how would he do that? By every day trying to trip you when you walk in, right? Sweep, kick, boom, fall on your ass. Sweep, kick, fall on your ass. Sweep, kick, fall on your ass. Fourth day, I'm not going in the front door. It's not happening. I'm not doing that. And you walk in and he doesn't trip you. And what happens? He bows to you. But no, you're too busy like, oh, he's got to be my enemy. He's got to be the evil one. Fuck that guy. You're writing him checks every month. You're writing him checks. You're writing him checks every month going, you were so evil. You were the evilest thing in the world. You're a pedophile. You're this. You're that. You're all the bad things that I project. You're all those things. Here's more checks. Here, take this check. Take this check. Take this check. And the moment you have compassion for that dojo leader is the moment your form blows up by a million. You turn into this badass jujitsu Jedi dude. You turn in Mr. Miyagi. You switch from Cobra Kai to Mr. Miyagi. You now see that Cobra Kai was not Cobra Kai. That this is Mr. Miyagi the whole time telling you to wax the fuck on and then wax the fuck off. And you break through that belief that this isn't just torture. That there's something to all of these fences that I sanded. There's something to all of this stuff. Hard to believe I'm using Karate Kid, right? That's truly understanding what the Lord is. The purpose of the Lord is. And that is what gets us out of the inner ring. That's what's going to break us out of this cycle of Atlantis, I think. I believe that when we understand that, oh, look at the green guy. Yeah, I'm green. I'm a little guy. I'm drinking. Feels like I'm on camera. Somebody watching me? Man, that's good. Oh, I'm going to sit down. Yeah. Look at him pumping, even though he's still. He's like, look at that. Man, he's going to be drunk. He's going to bash into a tree when he leaves. He's like, oh, yeah, that's a good nectar. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. God, it's hard. I wish you could ask him where he's from. Like, I was in Peru. It's nice. They don't have the COVID bullshit there. I tried to wear a mask, but the thing just pokes right through. It doesn't work at all. It's awful. Once we start to penetrate, we start to see what else is there waiting for us. We start to understand why walruses, penguins, seals, and crocodiles have different pineal systems than we do. The crocodile has no pineal gland. Walruses and seals and penguins have big ones. And if you look at the penguins, are all along the ice wall. They inhabit all parts of Antarctica. They're completely wrapped around it. They're part of our southern stretch. They are meant to live in a world that has less light, because your pineal is going to build your melatonin, right? It's going to secrete melatonin in the darkness. And these animals, seals, walruses, they're showing you. The penguins too. Some of these penguins are big, like 5 foot tall penguins. 5 feet tall. Yeah. Not talking about emperor penguins. I'm talking about mega emperor penguins that have been found. Really, really big guys. And they have a different pineal system to them, which is a hint, my friends. It's a hint that this solar ring that we have may not be the only realm of life. There could be a clue in these 4 species that have these really strange pineal gland feature to them. It could be. But how are we going to get there if we insist that everything the Lord tells us, everything that the sensei tells us, has to be true, can never be questioned, and can never, ever, ever rejected? And as he holds out with his firm hand, because he's a sensei, he's a badass, he holds out that torch. He's like, take it. And you're like, I can't get it. I can't get it. You're trying. And he's like, take it. And you can't. And he's going to hold it there until you take it. Or you don't. It doesn't matter. But realize if you don't take it, you're paying him all that damn money to be your sensei and you're not actually training. Instead, you've gone into Mr. Miyagi and you've been like, hey, yeah, Mr. Miyagi, look, I don't really want to fight. I just kind of want to scrub your fences. Is that okay? Yeah, I'll still pay you. I'll be here every morning. Everything will be fine. But I just don't want to fight. I just want to scrub your fences. I just want to wax on and wax off. That's all. That's all. The only reason why I'm here is to wax on and wax off. That's what happens to you in the corporate world. That's what happens to you when you fall into this system of regurgitation, delegation, abandonment. You step out of the ring, and you're more content to clean the toilets in the dojo. But there's so much more waiting for you, my warriors. There's so much more. Outside of this realm, outside of the tutelage of the Lord, you could call this dome we live on a dojo, a magnetic dojo. And the magnetism is so strong on this dojo, it builds this toroidal field. We talked about this. This toroidal field is built that it makes it super freaking cold around the outer perimeters of it. And it's super warm in the middle. And you have this tendency to want to stay warm, don't you? You want to stay in the light of the Lord. The Lord, not God. The sensei. And please do me a favor. Imagine yourself going back to God and telling him, yeah, I was worshiping you the whole time. You didn't see? When I was, wax on, wax off. You didn't see that? That was all for you. And God's like, but you picked that, sensei. You're the one that wanted to go there every day. You never talked about me. All you did was talk about the Lord all the time. He wrote a book, right? But I thought you wrote that book. I'm God. Why would I write a book? Like if I wanted, well, you didn't write the book? No, I didn't write the book. Well, why didn't you tell me? What am I supposed to fucking come wipe your nose every second? Am I supposed to watch you during your sensei karate class? And every single time something goes wrong or something doesn't happen, I need to be the one that comes in and adjusts you? Well, no, God, that's not what I meant. Well, let's think about what you meant. You injected yourself with vaccines, cut off your boy's penis, you served in a corporate culture, and you're telling me you were serving me the whole time? Well, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, why'd you think that? Well, I guess I never questioned it. Well, why not? I don't know, God. I guess I was afraid. It's not that I think God is not going to forgive you for coming home and telling him that, okay? It's not. But I'm saying imagine what God's how he's going to greet you when you come home and you don't tell that story. Imagine if you come home with a freaking torch. Imagine if you came home with the torch and you pulled it from Sensei's fingers. And you're like, I brought this back to you. This guy had it, but he's not you. I know you. You're a God. I brought you this torch. What do you think God would say if he saw you come home blooming with light versus you walking home in the darkness with your shackles on, right? And your butt plug of piety, right? And your ball gag of sinfulness. And you're flogging yourself. Oh, so bad. I'm sexist, racist, conspiracy theorist. This is your cosmology. You get to choose. I'm not here to tell you, yeah, man, bring God the torch. You need to decide, what do you think God wants to see? What is your macaroni art that you're bringing home to the refrigerator, right? That's what you get to pick, not me. I don't want you to listen to me. I mean, okay, I would love it if you were to join me in these conversations. But it's your cosmology. I want you to pick that, not me. Someone sent me a super chat for $13. Thank you. I cannot read it. I'm so sorry. It won't let me scroll up. I'm sorry about that. And I need to run because I know a gravy train's coming, and I want to give you guys a breather before that. I encourage you all to watch Owen if you'd like. Most of you guys are already doing that, so it's cool. Thank you for today. Thank you for this time. And, yep, butt plug of piety, Althea. That's what I said. That's what I said. You guys keep kicking ass, man. Keep finding that. Keep looking at Musk for what he is. And remember, propaganda is the only virus that's killing us. It's the only one. And most of us are being paid to spew that propaganda. Most of us are being told to wax on and wax off that propaganda again. This is a weird thing to stick in, but I just want to say really quick that your fashion is so vital. I keep telling you, I'll save it. I'll save it. I know I've said it before, but fashion is mind control. And I really, really want us to get this through our heads. I really want us to understand just how true this is. We'll talk about that. That's actually a good show. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. And whoever gave me the super chat, thank you. I wish I could thank you now, but I really do appreciate it. And you guys have a great day. Remember who you are. I sure as heck do.